We're going to talk next about what's called a rock tunnel. And what actually is it? It's between the two veins, the supporting rock that's between the two veins of coal. And right now we're going to be going through one of those supporting rock tunnels. And they had special men to do this type of work. The regular coal miner didn't do rock work. They had special people called rock contractors that came in and tunneled through the rock. And then when they hit the coal, the regular coal miner came in and began to work again. Now these rock contractors, they were paid big money. The only trouble was they never lived to enjoy any of their money. It was such dusty, hazardous work. Almost like working in a talcum powder factory where you'd have this white dust every time you drilled and blast, and it was very hazardous to your lungs. I had a lady in here a couple of weeks ago. She said my husband was a rock contractor and he was only 47 years old when he died, and he could barely take 10 steps without gasping for air. So you can see this, the severity of certain conditions on the miner's lungs, and one of them was the rock tunnel. It was very severe dust, a lot of work, hard work, and it took its toll. But the thing of it is that made men work and do this type of work is they made big money. They made about 3 times the amount of money as a regular coal miner, so that was an incentive to a lot of men to come down and work in these rock tunnels. Now follow me this way and we're going to come into our next vein shortly. We're going to talk a little bit about child labor. Child labor was a large part of the workforce in the anthracite industry, and it spanned from the mid-1800s up until 1914, and that's when the child labor laws were officially enacted in Pennsylvania, that you had to be 16 years of age to get working papers to work legally, and 18 years of age to come underground in a coal mine to work. However, during the Depression, these laws were not strictly enforced because many people relied heavily on child labor as a means of support. One of those jobs that we're looking at here was called the mule driver. This boy would drive the mule with a stick or a whip to pull the car of coal from one point to another. He was paid about 12 cents an hour and worked sometimes 7 days a week. 12 hours a day also. So they were tough conditions, a lot of work. Remember, he was between the ages of 12 and 14. They came down here and they would take care of the mule to pull that car of coal. Now when the mule would stop, the car would keep going. There were no brakes on the car, so what the boy had to do, he had to run alongside of the car with a wooden peg called a sprag. He would stick that sprag in the spoke of the wheel, and that would take the sprag around and stop and block the car. Now if he missed the sprag or stuck his hand in too far, it would take his hand around and crush or cut off his fingers. Many times that happened. Also, if he missed the sprag, the car ran over the mule and he was immediately fired. Why? Because men you could replace, mules you had to buy. They used to have a saying, the mine owners, don't kill a mule, we have to buy one. Don't worry about killing a man, we can always hire another. There's plenty to be hired. There were thousands and thousands of people coming in from southern and eastern European countries, and they were looking for work, so they came to Ellis Island, so there was an overabundant supply of labor there. And all these people were being brought into northeastern Pennsylvania for work in the mines and the railroads. So there was a plentiful supply. In fact, there was too many people for the jobs that were here. Long lines of people unemployed, looking for work. And the only way they would get a job was when someone was injured or killed. That's when they were replaced. So they would go every day looking for work, and if someone was injured or killed, they were lucky enough to get their job. And the miners tried to learn from accidents and also fatalities. They did not want to be the next statistic because there was nobody to take care of their families or them. Now what they did, they learned by mistakes, and they learned by seeing accidents happen and also miners getting killed. So when they saw something like that, they learned and they said, that's not going to happen to me. After 1901, the coal strike started putting in some safety conditions. They were instructing the men how to work safely, and they made the mines a better place to work. But it took a long time before this happened, because there were many mines, many thousands of men working underground, So it was a very slow process of transforming the mines into a safe industry. So people merely learned by seeing accidents and seeing people killed. Now the animal you see there was a live mule one time. We purchased that mule so that everyone coming underground could see what the mules actually look like. If I came down and tried to talk about a mule and you didn't see a mule, you'd say, geez, what is a mule? What does it look like? Well, that's firsthand experience there by looking at that now. And you can see what it looks like. Like a small horse, very strong, durable animal. They were raised locally around here, and it was a good business to be in, supplying mules for the mine. You could see them out in the fields as they grew, and when they got a certain age, they brought them down for work in the mines. Now, the mine owners took very good care of them. They had stables down here that were heated, they had running water in them, and they took very good care of the mules. Remember, you had to buy a mule. You didn't have to buy a man. So you could always hire another man. Now, if you wanted to see something pretty funny, you should have been here the day that the UPS man brought our mule to us. Over here you can see the next vein of coal. This is called the Dunmore 1 vein. It's very low and shallow. It's only about 2 feet high. Men actually worked in veins like that, and we're going to see more evidence of that inside and just how they work. If you look up in here, you can see how the coal actually rolls and goes up and tips and turns over up there. That's called a fault. Now what a fault actually is a disturbance in the pattern of the vein that was caused by a volcano, an earthquake, or a glacier. Probably caused about 150 to 250 million years ago when the coal was being formed. So this shows there was a lot of evidence of earthquakes and a lot of phenomena going on underground when this coal was being formed. Take a look up there, you can see how the coal looks like, almost like a wave rolling in the ocean up there. It's called a fault. All right, if you look there, you might see some evidence of some hands there. Looks like somebody got buried, doesn't it? Oh boy, look at that, the hands are moving. How about that? We try to shed a little bit of light here because it's a very serious subject and we want people to not to take it so serious when they're on the tour, but it is a serious part of life, and it was a serious part of history that maybe people did get injured and killed, and it was just something to focus on, and we thought that a little bit of humor at this point might break the monotony a little bit, so I want you to follow me in here.